gentlemen, I do apologize for delay, but I'm very happy that you are here with me. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. Yes, it's the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are certainly not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the socialists. Wow, we've been spending a lot of time talking about socialism. My goodness. I want to thank the makers of Dell and HP. It's just amazing, you know, all the technology and stuff. But we've been talking about socialism. Last week we talked about Dr. King and blew a lot of people's mind about him embracing abortion. You can tell that I am not afraid to take on the myths, the legends, because the truth supersedes all of that. So this week, what we're going to concentrate on is the legend of Hillary. You got Bernie last week, you got Hillary this week. You need to know what you're up against. And then you're going to talk about what we're all for. And we've been talking about what we're all for 5 years now. In fact, February 28th, this month, will be our 6th anniversary. So we are very proud, very gracious, very blessed to have you all on board with us. Listen, I want to also give thanks to those people who are in the chat room tonight. You all put up with a lot of me. No matter how incapable I am, you are more than able. Dave Miller's in the chat room. He is the unpleasant blind guy. Deborah Blair's in the chat room. Thank you so much. Glad to have you here. We love you. My bouncer, the official bouncer of the Exceptional Conservative Show, Mary Brockman, is in the chat room. We love you. And Captain Mueller, better known as the Professor, is here today. Okay, glad to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to be talking about Hillary. We're going to be talking about it's Hillary because I believe in democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, there is an educational process that needs to be taking place. So you don't have individuals that walk up to you and say, if I don't vote for Trump, I'll vote for Bernie. We'll be right back. You know how we start this particular program off with our pledge of allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand. And you know, the Senor Cabrera tape, I don't know if that's really working anymore. I doubt it very seriously. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with the kids. The kids seem to be very purposeful and unable. Put your hand over your heart. Here you go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad you're with us tonight. Wow, we are coming up on 6 years on the air. We've been immovable, unstoppable, steadfast, resilient, resourceful, and gracious. Oh, you all have been more than gracious to a bumbling man like myself who just wants to present an ideal of what conservatism is all about. Wrote an essay. I'll be talking about that essay in the 4th quarter of our program. In the 3rd quarter, we'll be talking with Lonnie Poindexter, the Poindexter man, yes, who is a lion chaser, the king of lion chasers. In fact, he is the most handsome man on radio, and you can hear him at Urban Family Talk. We'll be talking about urban life, probably a little bit about Donald Trump and so much more as things go on. But tonight, I want to talk with you on the issue, it's Hillary because I believe in democracy. I get into a lot of trouble with the professor who happens to be my co-host on New Day Black and Red on WNJC 1360, the home of the benevolent dictator Rick Trader. Because I try to converse to you without all of his expertise and just charisma of expressing Americanism and patriotism to you. And the concept of a federally constituted republic, I get in trouble with that. But what I don't get in trouble with is the fact that we are a republic. We are not a democracy. Now, I know that there might be some who would tell me that I'm kibitzing words and I am taking things to a different level. If you need to call me, it's okay. All right, Professor. Confusing the two allows for a silent revolution to take place. When you hear conservatives run around and tell you that they want democracy to work in America, I shudder. I shudder because if democracy worked in America, you would not really have conservatives at the helm. You could not. Conservatism is built on the framework of the individual. The individual has choice, and that individual chooses to be civil within a society for the greater good and the common welfare of all persons. It is the individual who has the power, the individual who seeks, who could, wow. It is the individual who seeks to do that which is best in his own heart without destroying his fellow neighbor. Literally, I know I wish I could explain it. Can I explain it? I want to explain it this way without definitely turning this into an American conservative's exploration of the inspired word of God. Literally, it's attempting to love God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your soul, with all of your strength, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Never taking away any of your neighbor's stuff or taking away his rights or taking away his privileges, nor attempting to give him special treatment because it would be an offense to the triune of love. Love between God and you, love between you and God, love between you and the neighbor and God. You do not want to interfere with the triune, so what you do is to create an environment so that the triune could possibly exist without infringing on each other. Captain Muller says, look at you doing both the constitutional and biblical viewpoints. Thank you, sir. I am a real trained psychic. And no, that's not PHYSIC. I'm sorry, is it PSYCHIC? Yeah, that's the one. Psychic. There you go. Tonight, I want you all to get a very firm understanding of what it means to be a republic and what it means to be in a republican form of government, and why your founding fathers did not ever intend for a Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama or a Jimmy Carter or a Bernie Sanders or Franklin Delano Roosevelt to ever take the helm, or Woodrow Wilson to ever take the helm of the presidency. Literally, what we are doing is allowing revolutionaries, Bolsheviks, to come in with silencers, or, you're right, Captain Moeller, or George Bush. You're allowing those Bolsheviks to come in with silencers and blow us all away. And then to mask education, well, actually to mask indoctrination as if it were education, to mask theater in political intrigue and ideology, and then to make us all culpable partners of the overthrow of our government. If you do not have a Republican form of government, then guess what? You do not have a constitutional government. And when a government is guaranteed to be a Republican form of government and it fails in that, then there is something wrong here. Number one, either you allowed it, or number two, someone forcibly took it from you. Now, for some of us as conservatives, we have been forced for a long time. We have watched people engineer this right before our eyes and make it sound good. But there is a difference between democracy and republic. There is a difference between socialism and capitalism. There is a difference between life conceived and life aborted. There are differences. And while we like to hide around the pale images, while we like to nuance our way as if we are political phenoms, we literally, when we begin to hyphenate, when we begin to separate and isolate along an ideological track that takes away either life or liberty or the pursuit of happiness, guess what we've done? We have engineered by vote socialism and by force communism. And in places in America where you are not allowed to carry your firearm to defend yourself, communism exists. I know that I've gotten very far ahead of where I was going, and I wanted to just do an intro, but I'm setting things up for the entire week, kind of, sort of. But can I play this clip for you? You don't mind if I play this clip for you. This is from the Washington Free Beacon. They are covering MSNBC Hardball exclusive, and you know who on Hardball, the gentleman who still gets a thrill up his leg. I kind of think it's a stroke, but who knows? Here we go.
Tom, I want to try to help you for this audience tonight, our audience, locate yourself politically in this country. Now, we have Trump out there, and we have Bernie out here. Now, Bernie calls himself a socialist. Nobody uses a derogatory term anymore. He loves to have that label. He's never ran as a Democrat. He runs against Democrats up there in Vermont. You're a Democrat. I'd say you're pretty typical.
Okay, I want to stop right there for Mr. Hardball here. Mr. Hardball makes the statement that socialism is not considered derogatory in this country. That socialism is not considered derogatory in this country. Now, I want to do this for you, for my download listeners, and I learned over the weekend that there are a multitude of download listeners for my program, and God bless you all. Thank you so much for listening on the download. In fact, one minister right before my eyes, took the Bible study that I did on an American Conservatives Exploration of the Inspired Word of God and used it for a communion feast. So I'm telling you, I have a lot of download listeners, and I'm proud of them. God bless you. You're listening, and I hope that you take what you hear and begin to liberate those in our community. Let me put in the term derogatory here, that people do not see it as a negative or derogatory thing to be a socialist. Let me make it very crystal clear to you today. How is it that you could be in a Republican form of government and you attempt to derail the Republican form of government with a form of governance that your founding fathers did not select? Your founding fathers did not select it because it was the better of all selections. The founding fathers did not select socialism because they saw it exist in Europe and in other places around the world and knew that it did not work. They left a system of nobility in which most men in a simple caste system could never become anything more than either a vagabond or a good-natured stow upon a field working and laboring for the owner of that particular farm. The best that you were going to be is no better than your great-great-grandfather ever was. You were stuck in a system in which you could never achieve wealth except by either accident or inheritance. That you were the blue blood if you were born to a certain echelon, a certain family. If you did not have the family seal, or you did not have the family name, you did not have the family's wealth. And even worse, women rarely enjoyed the fruits of their labor. Their inheritance were few and far between. Only noble women were able to maintain great wealth. When you think of Ruth, okay, and you think of the characters in the book of Ruth, and Naomi is in the field gathering. That was the existence that you could expect as a woman in the days of nobility under a socialistic or even communistic system. And yes, these systems have existed since the beginning of time. If you had listened to an American Conservatives Exploration of the Inspired Word of God about 2 weeks ago, we talked about Joseph installing totalitarianism in Pharaoh. He was the one who did it. Pharaoh was just a military commander with certain presidential responsibilities, and he had ambitions for total rule and total control. You see, when you rule, you don't want to rule just a little something. You need the whole thing to work for you. Socialism means that you do not have the benefits that come with a Republican form of government. So I want to take you back there. That is derogatory. Derogatory means to take away, detract from, diminish, repeal, partly, restrict, modify, ask, question, propose away. Yes, socialism is derogatory. And if someone calls you a socialist, you should be offended. But notice how Hillary Clinton acts in this interview.
Out here. Now, Bernie calls himself a socialist. Nobody uses a derogatory term anymore. He loves to have that label. He's never ran as a Democrat. He runs against Democrats up there in Vermont. You're a Democrat. I'd say you're a pretty typical Democrat in the traditional Democratic Party. And Humphrey, the rest of them, Scoop, not even Scoop, I'd say Mondale, you're somewhere there. What's the difference between a socialist and a Democrat?
Well,
is that a question you want to answer, or do you want to not?
Well, you'd have to ask.
Well, see, I'm asking you. You're a Democrat. He's a socialist. Would you like somebody to call you a socialist? I wouldn't like somebody calling me a socialist.
But I'm not one.
Okay, well, what's the difference between a socialist and a Democrat?
Well, I can tell you what I am. I am a progressive Democrat. I'm a progressive Democrat.
How's that different than a socialist?
How is that different than a socialist? Now we go back to derogatory, because he set this question up for you to understand. If you buy into this, and trust me, he is one who wishes to repeal the Constitution. He is a lightning bolt amongst journalists as complete orthodoxy of a totalitarian regime. So he's setting the question up. He's saying, come out of the closet, all of you Democrats. It's okay. And that's what I'm telling you as well tonight. Democrats, black Democrats, Hispanic Democrats, Asian Democrats, and I don't know why you Asians want to come over here and be Democrats. You came away from Mao, you came away from Pol Pot, you came away from all of these dictators around the world, and you come here and you call it freedom by instituting dictatorship. I don't understand your concept. You're trying to repeal the Constitution. In repealing the Constitution, you are a threat to our nation. And it's okay. There are other countries. And we would like to buy you tickets. You can go away back to Cambodia and Mao Zedong land. And you can. There are some nice properties in Syria that are open around the beach area. You know what I'm saying? There's some nice spots around the world where we are told that we are not respected, not loved, because we are so mean-spirited. Constitutionally, we resist being mean-spirited. Everything about our Constitution talks about love and grace. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The bottom line here, what's the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? And can you answer me with a straight answer? Can you?
Well, see, I'm asking you. You're a Democrat. He's a socialist. Would you like somebody to call you a socialist? I wouldn't like somebody calling me a socialist.
But I'm not one.
Okay, well, what's the difference between a socialist and a Democrat?
Well, I can tell you what I am. I am a progressive Democrat. I'm a progressive Democrat who likes to get things done and who believes that we are better off in this country when we're trying to solve problems together, getting people to work together. There will always be strong feelings, and I respect that from, the far right, the far left, libertarians, but whoever it might be. We need to get people working together. We got to get the economy fixed. We got to get all of our problems, really tackled. And that's
I think the difference is, and Debbie Weissman-Schultz wouldn't ask the question either I asked her, because I know politically you have to keep together the center left and the left has to work together. I know all that. Let me ask you about working together. You gave a nice speech.
All that you're doing is pandering. He's accusing her of pandering. Pandering people.
Running out of time. I want to try to help you.
I want to try to help you. I want to try to help you. I want you to help yourself. He mentions Debbie Wasserman-Schultz. And I want to play that clip for you right here. Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, socialism. What's the difference?
Our candidates and theirs is very clear, and the American people eventually choose our nominee as president.
Now, you were on with one of our panelists this week. You were on with Chris Matthews, and he asked you a question about Bernie Sanders. Let me play the clip and then get you to respond on the other side.
What is the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? I used to think there's a big difference. What do you think it is?
The difference between
a Democrat like Hillary Clinton and a socialist like Bernie Sanders.
What's the difference between being a Democrat and being a Republican?
But what's the big difference between a Democrat and a socialist? You're chairman of the Democratic Party. Tell me the difference between you and a socialist.
the relevant debate that we'll be having over the course of this campaign is what's the difference between a Democrat and a Republican?
Given that Bernie Sanders is an unabashed socialist, believes in social democratic governments, likes the ones in Europe, what is the difference? Can you explain the difference?
You know, Chuck, it's always fun to be interviewed by Chris Matthews, and I know that he enjoys that banter. The important distinction that I think we're going to be discussing, and I'm confident we'll be discussing in this campaign, is the difference between Democrats and Republicans. The difference between Democrats and Republicans is that Democrats want to make sure that people have an opportunity to climb the ladders of success and reach the middle class, have a good education, have a secure retirement. Look at the Republican field. What they stand for is the extremism that you've seen on full display over the last few weeks, which is why Donald Trump is their front runner. I mean, Donald Trump is essentially a reflection of where the Republican Party is today, limiting a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions, shifting to a more privately focused education system, ending Medicare as we know it. That's the important and relevant contrast as we go through the next 18 months of this presidential election.
Very quickly, we're only talking.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you what I believe. I can tell you what I stand for. I can show you the principles by which I believe. I don't have to point to a party platform. I can talk to you about the principles, and they are both constitutional and biblical. They cannot be legislated because they exist. They have to be observed. But only totalitarians have the tool set in the box with a label on the outside that says Democrat progressive, but inside the toolbox is a voting tool for socialism and a force tool for communism. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for being with us tonight. When we come back, we're going to talk about the difference between what a republic is and what a democracy is, and how you should slap the next conservative that walks up to you and tells you that we are in a democracy. Take away their conservative card, okay? Just take it away. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm an executive chef of a food restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage. Take a cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and good. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs with both some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our famous tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infusion two burgers. We kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80/20 USDA ground chuck hand patty burgers. You need like half a pound of burgers. We'll really keep effective. After I put the burgers, we add the sauce, and let it cook on it until it looks a little better. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Baby, I know that you're thinking about 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748, 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000, infuse.com, 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 baby! Get there! Get your burger on. You know what I'm saying? And they even got their veggie stuff. My wife is trying. They got veggie stuff, all right? It's not really all American. You know, I think they got some Democrats that are working up in there, some socialists or something, because they got that veggie stuff. The real Americans eat beef, baby, and they got bacon on it, baby. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, baby. Make certain that you get there.
Nothing illustrates America's breakdown like the way the president's hometown celebrates its holidays. Memorial Day, 12 dead, 56 wounded. The 4th of July, 10 dead, 53 wounded. Labor Day, 9 dead, 46 wounded. This kind of third world carnage has become absolutely normal. If the president held a press conference every time multiple people were murdered by criminal gangbangers with illegal guns in Chicago, we'd hear from him almost every day. Instead, he says nothing. And the untold secret in Washington is that he has all the laws he needs to stop the bloodshed now. Under the existing federal gun laws, he could take every felon with a gun, drug dealer with a gun, and criminal gangbanger with a gun off the streets tomorrow and lock them up for 5 years or more. But he won't do it. His Justice Department won't do it. And the media never ask why. So convicted gangbangers carry illegal guns because they fear rival gangs more than they fear being prosecuted for a gun charge. Every police officer on the streets in cities like Chicago, Baltimore, and Detroit knows what it's like to get called to a murder scene, knowing full well who did it, because the killer was in the back of their car yesterday or last week. Thugs like Darius Brown, who was supposed to be serving a 10-year sentence for second-degree felony robbery, but got let off with 5 years probation. So he was free to roam the streets and kill a 9-year-old girl while she was doing her homework. If you want to stop violent crime, and I know you do, take violent criminals off the street. Prosecute them under the current federal gun laws and make sure they don't get to their next crime scene. That's the way to save lives. If the president held a press conference tomorrow morning and directed every federal jurisdiction to round up every felon with a gun, drug dealer with a gun, and criminal gangbanger with a gun, law enforcement would have thousands of violent thugs in handcuffs and squad cars by sundown. Instead, he waits for a crime that fits his agenda and blames the NRA. Mr. President, we will not accept blame for your failure. The NRA has demanded the strongest possible prosecution of the federal gun laws for over 20 years. Our repeated calls have been met by deafening silence from the Washington elites. President Obama and Hillary Clinton and other politicians use the carnage to campaign for more gun laws they won't and don't enforce. And the good, honest Americans living out in farm towns in Nebraska or Oklahoma, or working 2 jobs in inner city Chicago or Baltimore. People who keep their heads down, raise their kids, and just try to do the right thing, they see through it all. We've lived through the Clinton administration's utter lack of federal gun prosecutions, and the Obama administration is following suit while the country suffers. And we know that a second Clinton administration will just mean more of the same. Americans have no tolerance for violent thugs, no tolerance for the politicians who enable them, and no tolerance for a media that devotes endless time to new gun laws, but won't even ask why we don't enforce the existing federal gun laws we already have. No organization has been louder, clearer, or more consistent on the urgent need to enforce the federal gun laws than the NRA. And in the face of mounting political and media pressure to demean, shame, and silence us, we will fight. If you have had enough of the dishonest debate, if you're sick and tired of politicians blaming you and your guns for their failure, demand truth and justice. Stand and fight with the NRA.
Ladies and gentlemen, in present polling now, election right. Everybody remember when Democrats were encouraged to vote in Republican primaries to help split the party and cause general chaos? So do I. In a completely unrelated story, excitement abounds as the most dynamic candidate for the Democratic nomination has hit the scene. Democrats clamor to support Vermin Supreme, a man who counters global warming deniers with science, parascience, and pseudoscience.
DNA gene splicing to create a race of winged monkeys to act as tooth fairies.
No longer satisfied with half-hearted candidates like Clinton, Warren, and O'Malley, progressives across America know that Vermin Supreme reflects their ideas as a true Democrat.
I'm a friendly fascist. I'm a tyrant that you should trust, and you should let me run your life, because I, too, know what is best for you. Yes, I'm a politician. I will promise you anything your little electorate heart desires, because you are my constituents. You are the informed voting public, and because I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make.
The buzz is in the air. Democratic primary voters know in 2016 it's Vermin Supreme. This has been an unpleasant polling guide. Election right.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republicans, then Democrats. The beautiful and the lovely Mary Brockman is in the chat roll tonight. So glad to have her here. She's my bouncer. And she has told us that the professor put on a wild show last night. Just awesome. And so what we're recommending for the professor, since he has to have a root canal, is that he not get it. In order for the quality of broadcast radio and television to exceed the terms of excellence, we need you to stay in your condition of pain and suffering, sir. Do it for the art. Do it for the science. Do it for the people, my friend. You don't need no stinking tooth. Mary says an 8-ounce glass of that would, you won't feel pain for a week. Hey, I got that right. There you go. Vodka, gin, and whiskey. Put it together. Don't worry about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking tonight about a very special out of the closet thing. I came out of the closet tonight. I love you, Professor. I love you. I came out of the closet tonight. I said it's Hillary because I believe in democracy. I'm just being as facetious as any man could possibly be. But there are some issues and problems in America. There are those who would like to tell you that it's not Obamacare if you want government to take care if you want to take care of people. Apparently the term the common welfare is exercised best by big government in the seizing of your personal right to privacy and commerce. I want to play this clip for you. Okay. In fact, I'm going to play a couple of clips for you because I want you to know that socialism is well hidden because people want to win. Winning is all that matters. It doesn't matter what you lose when you win. All that matters is that you won. Donald Trump.
So what's your plan for Obamacare? Obamacare is going to be repealed and replaced. Obamacare is a disaster. If you look at what's going on with premiums, where they're up 45, 50, 55%. So how do you fix it? There's many different ways, by the way. Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say, because a lot of times they say, well, the lower 25%, they can't afford private. But universal health.
I want to stop right there for you. For the dimwits, for the lackeys, for those who think that this election is going to be built on bravado and style rather than policy and substance, this will work for you. If I change the chairs on the Titanic, you will pay more for the seat. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump does not want to replace Obamacare. Why? Because FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, understood that the last piece in which you can finally have control over every area of human life is health care. Why would a Republican give up that kind of power?
A lot of times they say, well, the lower 25%, they can't afford private. But universal health care, I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of. Much better than they're taken care of now. The uninsured person, right, is going to be taken care of. They're going to be taken care of. How? I would make a deal with existing hospitals to take care of people. And you know what? This is probably a deal. Who pays for it? The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side. But for the most part, it's going to be a private plan, and people are going to be able to go out and negotiate great plans with lots of different competition, with lots of competitors, with great companies, and they can have their doctors, they can have their plans, they can have everything.
You can have it all. You can have it all. Reminds me of the movie. You can do it. You can have everything. Whatever you desire, whatever your will is, someone else will pay for it. Now I have to ask you, is that a Republican form of government? Is that what our founders believed? And the answer is simply no. Our founding fathers did not believe in collective sacrifice. They believed in mutual but not collective. And there's a difference between the two. Mutual is the individual coming forward and saying, understanding for the public good, I am willing to sacrifice some things, but certainly not my liberty, certainly not my life, and certainly not my freedom.
You're pretty close, 29 days till voting in Iowa. Do Iowa voters and voters in New Hampshire and elsewhere deserve to see your full tax plan before they vote?
Well, they sure do, and they will, but that's not a kind of a false statement that we have issued a number of tax plans. For example,
right, I said full tax.
What we have said is that in the year 2016, public colleges and universities should be tuition free, and we should lower interest rates on student debt, and we do that by a tax on Wall Street speculation. That's a plan. What we have also said is that unlike the Republicans who want to cut Social Security, I want to expand Social Security, and we do that by lifting the cap on taxable income for people earning above $250,000 a year. That's
I want y'all to understand something. Remember, $250,000 a year was what Obamacare was for? Obamacare would not be for people over $250,000. You would not have to pay the tax if you were under that. Only people above 200. Something about being a socialist in that number 250,000 might have something to do with Mao Zedong. I don't know. But I want you to understand. This dude just said we are going to lift the cap. Now, I want you to know, before 1913, there was no income tax. That means every American kept every dollar for themselves, and they would take a hog with them if they needed medical care to the doctor. The doctor would sell the hog and get his bounty. But, ladies and gentlemen, what he's saying is, and let me make this clear for the download listeners who have never heard Bernie Sanders but are going to vote for him because he has a D behind his name or an S behind his name. Let me make it very clear to you. He doesn't see a difference between the IRS and the Department of Treasury and your wallet. He doesn't see a difference. And remember $250,000, how it went from $250 to $200 to $175 to $125 to everybody. Everybody pays the tax. When you do your taxes this year, you'll see it. If you didn't see it last year. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Sanders is telling you, and this is what a socialist does, that your wallet is now the Treasury of the Treasury Department of the United States of America.
expand Social Security, and we do that by lifting the cap on taxable income for people earning above $250,000 a year. That's a tax plan. What I have said is that I want to rebuild America's crumbling infrastructure, create up to 13 million jobs, rebuilding our roads and bridges, and we do that by doing away with the ability of corporations to stash their money in tax havens like the Cayman Islands and Bermuda. That's a tax plan. So we have been very specific. We have more to do, and we will be doing that.
Now, let me ask you something. Bernie Sanders has been in Congress as long as Aunt Jemima. He has been chasing your tax dollars, and he's been chasing corporations' tax dollars. Did not this administration sign agreements with multinational banks to make certain that all of your money and their money is exposed? The reason why they hide their money offshore, Mr. Sanders, is simple. They paid taxes on it already. They don't want to have to pay taxes again. They don't want you pickpocketing them out of the left and right pockets. But I want you to understand something. Bernie doesn't see any difference between your wallet and his treasury. Does that sound like the nobleman of England? Where you will work for 40 years upon their farm, always owing, never getting ahead, and always having someone ruling upon you saying you're doing a lot better, check out my books. Bernie, this is not a vacation, man. Really not.
Money in tax havens like the Cayman Islands and Bermuda. That's a tax plan. So we have been very specific. We have more to do, and we will be doing that in the very near future.
Before the Iowa caucuses?
Yes.
I thought, Bernie, that you had already released the information. That's how you started. Now you're saying at the very end, we'll do it during the Iowa caucuses. The bottom line is you have to understand that Bernie Sanders has made it very loud and clear. His tax plan is 100% of your wealth. Forget the grandkids. You don't have to worry about a national debt for your grandkids because they won't have anything to pass on anyway. And then number two, if they did, I take it from them. They always talk about the 100% tax during the Eisenhower administration. Very few people ever got to that particular level of taxation because they had so many deductions and other things that they could rudimentarily take away any debt. The bottom line is that Bernie Sanders is leading in Iowa. People are craving for the free stuff. People are craving for a society in which someone is able to take something from somebody else and give it to them because the other person didn't deserve it and I could spend it better. When we come back in the fourth quarter, I don't know if I'll be able to do the essay, but we certainly will continue to talk about the difference between a democracy and a republic. Coming up next is my very good friend, Lonnie the Poindexter. Yes, Lonnie Poindexter. He is the Lion Chaser on the Lion Chaser radio program on Urban Family Talk. We'll be talking about urban life and everything else that goes along with it. A lot to do with the Iowa caucuses, which I'm hearing that based on the Iowa caucuses, Donald Trump got 33%, Ted Cruz is at 32%. That's not good for the Trumpster. We'll be right back. And I also want to thank those who carry our program, SHR Media, SHR Media. I blew that one, man. I tell you, SHR Media, Rebooting Liberty, and also High Plains Talk. And I want to thank Dan the Man Butcher for moving my show from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where I was getting very high ratings against Rush Limbaugh, moving my show to the morning drive time between 7 and 9 on High Plains Talk Radio starting this week. I want to thank you all so much for doing that. What a way to kick off. It's tough being the #2 urban conservative talk show in America behind the professor, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. It's always the white man holding the black man down. We'll be back right after these messages. back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first the Republican and then the Democrat. Ladies and gentlemen, what about the audio? You shall overcome, my friend. Just make each day a little bit better. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, my man. I'm not going to let the white man hold me down from being the most influential urban conservative talk show in America. Power to people. Someday I'll be free. They never tell you anything? Well, sometimes you have to hold a gun. Ladies and gentlemen, much to do tonight. We're talking about democracy versus a republic. You can tell early on that Democrats find it very difficult to explain to you exactly what they are. Although I spent 5 years now telling you what I am, and there's still people who, man, I've been watching your show right on the download, man, and you always putting us down. But I never hear anything about what Republicans do. I don't know how you can miss it. I don't know. I'm an equal opportunity hitman. I want to thank Reverend Kathy Pointer and Dr. Carrie Pointer of Greater Fellowship Baptist for inviting my wife and I yesterday to come and speak to your congregation. It was a great honor. It was a great privilege. And I know that we are fighting the good fight through the Open Heart Closed Case campaign. Our fight is for the protection of our children, for the safety and tranquility of not only our nation but our neighborhoods. It doesn't make sense for young people to die in the streets. And so I'm encouraging people. I'll become more aggressive. I used to care and try to be very, quiet and obedient to think. I can't do that anymore. So I'm telling you all right now, there is a faith breakfast, faith leaders breakfast on Saturday, February the 13th at the Ark, 1901 Mississippi Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. I know there are a lot of down low listeners. I'm encouraging you to come out to that. And we're also working on bringing all of the ministers, pastors, not your assistant, and not Leroy, who was sitting at the end of the pew waiting for the opportunity to preach someday. No, we're asking and working on all of the pastors in Ward 7 and 8 coming together in prayer, specifically for the safety and security of our neighborhoods. It's about time for y'all to come up out of them walls. I know y'all work real hard trying to build them super edifices so that you can recruit people, especially widows, and take their mites. But time has come for you all to put your robes on and put to work the glory of God through prayer. And so you will be called upon. And maybe I'm not the best messenger because I'm so acerbic. But you know what? As God has called me, I'm going to be led. And I'm going to encourage you all to do the very same thing. In the chat room tonight, Dave Milner, the Unpleasant Blind Guy. You can find him on YouTube. He's a big star. Deborah Blake, I thought she left. She may have stayed in the chat room while she's traveling. I don't know. Also, Mary Brockman, my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed from our program. And then Captain Moeller, who is better known as the Underground Professor, is with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we do at the beginning of each of our programs, and it has become a favorite, for many. Simply, we say the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. We're talking about tonight what a republic is, and so I want to play for some and present to others the Pledge of Allegiance. And here's John Wayne.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Great pledge of allegiance there, John. John Wayne. Didn't his daughter endorse Ted Cruz? Right. Somebody tell me who did John? Was it Ted Cruz or Donald Trump? I think John Wayne's daughter endorsed. I want to say Cruz. But I think it was Donald Trump. Dave Milner. Dave Milner is telling everyone that the professor is number 1 and number 8 in the chat room. Dave, can you tell everyone what I am and how I'm being held down by the white man? I just want that to be very, clear, poignantly clear that I'm being held down by the white man, and that kind of racism being meted out amongst the Thebians and the Pharisees is just hardly unacceptable and transquatic, and will be revisited with the engines of disgrace and disdain. I just want to use as many big words as I possibly can. There you go. So we are calling Dave Miller, beg pardon, Professor, you're number 1 and number 8. So there you go. You're number 1 and number 8. Holding the black man down. Holding him down, man. Yeah, I agree with you, Mary. The Duke would never endorse Trump. Never. We are about to call one of the most handsome men on the face of the earth. He is cursed with great looks and an ability to speak prophetically to all nations. None other than our very good friend, the great one, Lonnie Poindexter. We're calling Lonnie now, wondering why we're not getting the ringy-dingies. The ringy-dingies. Apparently, we are not getting him there. Okay, so we're going to try here. And people keep telling me to give Skype a try. You gotta love Skype. You gotta love them. I'm not feeling love anymore for Skype. Dave keeps talking me off the ledge, but I'm an innovator. There we go.
Hello.
Good evening, fellow soldier and lion chaser.
Hey, brother, how's it going, man?
Doing well. We have none other than the most handsome man on radio on the air with us tonight. Yes, Lonnie Poindexter from the Lion Chaser radio show on Urban Family Talk. Good evening, sir. How you feeling?
I'm feeling just fine, man. I'm just so happy that the weather's finally cleared up and the snow melting and all that in our beautiful city. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Listen, you know what? I'm going to offer an orange coat to everyone who wants to walk in the street in the middle of the night instead of walking in the snow. I could barely see anybody. They were walking out, and just people walking into the middle of the street, and they're wearing black coat, black pants, black boots. No one can see you. I'm lucky I didn't take people home.
Well, I tell you, man, I saw that you in the middle of the store, and it's 6 floors. As soon as it let up a little bit, certainly that's what I saw. Folks walking down the middle of the street, and when snow, whatever reason, brings out the kid and everyone. I think everybody's out there making snow angels and everything in the middle of the street. So caution.
I'll tell you, snow after 5 days is not white anymore. It's black. It's black. It's POD black. And so That's God's justice. There is no racism in snow. White becomes black.
It certainly does. You see the meme going around in social media that black ice matters.
Oh my goodness. Listen, Lonnie, much going on around the world. And tonight, all eyes are on the wondrous state of, I think, 3 or 4 million people live in Iowa altogether. And I think
that includes corn.
Exactly. It's like 3 or 4 million people live on your street in Compton. You know what I'm saying? So, but Iowa, all attention is focused on Iowa. All of the gimmicks and the tricks and the letters and the pointing and the blaming, it's all over, and people are caucusing. And the last word I got was Ted Cruz and Donald Trump are in a dead heat. What say you? What's going on, sir?
You know, I'm not surprised at all. I knew that with Donald departing and holding his own event, that it was going to give Ted Cruz an opportunity to really shine. Now, let me quantify that with, regardless of what Fox News was doing with trying to stack the deck with their own favorites, I guess. I mean, I was pretty upset with what I saw happen with Dr. Carson. I saw a chart recently that I believe NPR did that showed how many minutes each candidate got to speak. And, you know, Dr. Carson going into the debates was number 3, yet he only had about 6 minutes worth of speaking time. Even Kasich and Jeff Bush had way more speaking time. So it kind of, there's a bias going on, you know, but it's nice to see that, you know, the cream is rising to the top, and Donald's going to be challenged. And when you get right down to the meat of the matter, Ted Cruz is one of the smartest guys on that stage, and it's going to come out and show his ability to understand these issues and to speak to them succinctly in a way without getting upset and that kind of thing. So I thought it was an interesting debate, but certainly, I guess let me put this back to you. I mean, what's your take on that? You know, I hear a lot of folks say that, you know, all the networks are the same, regardless of which side of the aisle that they're on. I've always fought to say, no, just, you know, they're all maybe a little biased, but some suck more than others.
Yeah.
But after the debate, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but I did see there was some clear bias. And I don't know how you alienate one of the front runners in the race that you have some type of agenda.
You know, you tell me that it was 6 minutes that he had questions or whatever. I think those were all during the breaks, the commercial breaks. He had 6 minutes to talk. There was no big caution at the debate. And he went on the offensive after the debate, and I believe he went on one of the networks talking about that very thing. There needs to be something. I don't know who decides who the questions are. I don't know if it's the moderators or somebody up the food chain. I don't know all that stuff. All I know is that he got about 6 minutes worth of speaking time. And also the questions that he was asked weren't the type of questions that were garnered debate or discourse between he and the other candidates, or between he and even the other mediators. It's not even like they had follow-up questions for the answers that he gave. It's okay, well, thank you, Dr. Carson, went on to somebody else. Exactly.
It's kind of like the first debate where Megyn Kelly went after Trump, you know, and it just became a you know what match between the two of them. So, you know, I long for the old days, Ken, where news reporters and moderators did exactly that. They reported the news and they moderated. Now we're the superstar thing where when your moderator has as much fanfare and as much exposure as the candidates, I think it speaks to that something needs to be done.
Exactly. But I really, in my opinion, and we're talking tonight with Lonnie Poindexter of Urban Family Talk, where I can't say the things I would say on his program when I'm on there on Fridays that I can say here. But we are I'm watching the pussification of America when a presidential candidate doesn't show up for a debate because the little goody is going to end me Christian. I like the Oh man! Oh, what a punk night that was! I want to play this clip because we're talking about Dr. Carson. Dr. Ben Carson, probably the smartest man in the room, whether he's in the closet or in the library or at the podium for the debate, gives his commentary on the best immigration policy America should pursue.
I think Teddy Roosevelt put it best in 1907 when he said, we're a country of immigrants. Everybody is welcome from any race, from any religion, as long as they want to be Americans, as long as they accept our values and beliefs and our laws.
There you go. Now, I didn't hear that from anybody else on the stage. That's very succinct. You want to be an American? Come to America. If you want to be a Muslim rebel who like to blow up people, stay where you are. There's lots of jobs there for you.
It was great. It's to the point. It's common sense. I like his responses because it's just common sense responses. But it's based on having a Judeo-Christian worldview. And he speaks truth. You know, America is a melting pot of multi-ethnicity, different cultures and so forth. But they all assimilate into the American culture. It does not mean that you lose your identity as to where you come from, but certainly your belief system, whatever it happens to be. I say this on my show all the time. You can believe what you can believe, and a Christian nation is the most compassionate nation in the world and accepting of everyone, except when they come up against the core tenets of the faith, which is the foundation of our judicial system, everything that is America. When you come up against that and our core values, then we have a problem with it. And I think that's what the doctor was speaking to. And that's just common sense. And if you don't do that, then you end up what you have in Germany, what you have in Belgium, what you have going on in France, and other nations in Europe who have accepted this false narrative of multiculturalism, and now they're paying the price. Whereas in Germany, I mean, the women can't walk the streets. You got, come on, man, what is it that you have to put signs up to teach, to tell the refugees or the expatriates, whatever you want to call them, explain to them, please don't rape the women?
Yes. Yes. And also that the mayor of Cologne blamed the women for causing the men to rape them. I thought Europe was the enlightened civilization. I thought we wanted to be more like Europe. We're talking tonight with Lonnie Poindexter, who is a great host and the most handsome man on radio. In fact, who has networks all across the country listening to him, a world presence from the Caribbean to Moscow. People are listening to Lion Chaser Radio. Sir, how can people listen to Lion Chaser Radio?
Well, they can catch it. Let me just point out, ladies and gentlemen, I'll put the check in the mail to Ken for everything that he just said. But for those of you that want to catch my show Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern Time Zone, and that's the urbanfamilytalk.com, urbanfamilytalk.com, and just click where it says Lion Chaser Show, and you can catch my show. And we're nationwide. We broadcast on 7 terrestrial radio stations across the nation. We're also internet enabled as well. And we have a good time on the show. And the exceptional one comes on Fridays and chops it up with me. And we set these liberals straight with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God.
There we go. Now, it doesn't matter what the Democrats are doing right now, because either way, you're going to get a socialist. That's the way. You're going to get a socialist either way around it. One on the down low and one just straight out there. But in the Democrat race right now, I'm taking a look at the Washington Post coverage with 82%, 83% virtually reporting in the Democrat caucuses. 50% are voting with Clinton. 49% are with Sanders. That's okay. I want to tell you right now, the two biggest losers in Iowa were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. because Hillary Clinton may just lose to Bernie Sanders in Iowa. And that would be just another example in the Socialist Party, Democrat Socialist Party, of the white man holding the white woman down. First,
that's amazing, brother. What did they do? Busting a bunch of folks from Northern California.
I'm here to vote for Sanders.
Amazing.
Yep.
It shows you to the extent that the party has deteriorated when you've got a socialist candidate trending that way. That's amazing.
Yeah. They're literally just a few moments away from Bernie Sanders walking away with the Iowa caucuses. It wouldn't be the first time a socialist won the Iowa caucuses. George W. Bush won the Iowa caucus. Barack Obama won the Iowa caucus. I think Jimmy Carter won the Iowa caucus. So it wouldn't be the first time a socialist did, but nonetheless, that's the way it's rolling. Now, okay, this is updating right now as I speak, with about 84% of the caucuses reporting. Ben Carson is number 4 at 9%. Marco Rubio is number 3 at 23%. Donald Trump is number 2 at 24%. And Ted Cruz is number 1 at 28%. Now, the big story there is that Donald Trump might lose to Rubio. Would you call it into your campaign if you lost to Rubio, sir?
I go look for something else to do for a living. Sell Amway products or something.
Oh, listen, I love the Donald, and I thank God for the Donald coming out early on and talking about these particular issues, immigration and so on, because nobody else was going to talk about them. But nonetheless, too much liberalism, too much socialism. He's just not the one.
Amen.
Now, I want to ask you real quick, because there's a big story out of Jacksonville, Florida. And there was a 22-month-old boy. And he was sitting in the car with his parents.
Yes.
And, minding their own business. I mean, they're not throwing up any gang signs or nothing. They're just sitting there in the car. And the little boy was shot and killed last night by gang members, or the assertion is that they're probably gang members, but individuals who did a drive-by, and shot into the car.
Yes.
Now, the 22-month-old boy, forgive me, is just in a long line of children who have been executed by gang members across the country who are under the protection of Black Lives Matter, a White House that blames hunters for guns, and liberal urban politicians that don't want to prosecute because they consider it the persecution of the culprit rather than the persecution of the victim. What say you, sir? Your thoughts on the 22-month-old boy who was shot and killed last night in that event, or at least Friday? Yeah.
It's tragic, man. I mean, it's the only thing you can say. It's a tragedy, but it's not rare. As I'm sure you know, it happens across the nation all the time. And yet, this little fanfare, little ruckus that's raised. But let's not mistake, it was a white police officer that did the shooting. It's a real issue that's taking place in American urban centers across America. You and I beat our drums and stand from our little bullet pulpits to get the truth out about when you have these unsupervised roving male bands of unsupervised young male youth that are running amok, shooting at each other over land that they don't own.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Now I almost
think it's by design, quite honestly.
Thank you. You're not the only one. We share that opinion. I think as long as you have people in need, you'll have people that vote for people that care. So when you're not in need, they're not going to vote for you. And so, there are individuals who have. If Black Lives really mattered, that 22-month-old child would matter. And it doesn't. It doesn't. Little Aiden Michael McClendon has almost my last name.
Yeah.
Just a T versus a D. Aiden Michael McClendon, 22 months old, shot dead Friday around 6:10 p.m. In Jacksonville while sitting in a car. Gang members did it. Gang members did it. And we're the bad guys because we want prosecution of gang members. We're the bad guys. Now, I am belated in terms of getting this question to you, and I got to get this question to you before you go because it's a chat roll, and the chat roll has the question, and I apologize to the chat roll that I did not ask this earlier. But the professor in our chat roll, Dr. Michael Jones, Dr. Jones, calling Dr. Jones, has a question. Does Rubio owe Fox for the surge?
Does Rubio own Fox? Is that what you said?
No. Does he owe Fox for the surge in his popularity in Iowa, coming into nearly second place?
Of course he does. Now, here's my take on this. I think it was by design to queue up Rubio because, quite frankly, I think that Rubio is the new fair-haired kid for the establishment GOP, to be quite honestly. Because they've recognized that Jeff's not going to vet. I don't care how many millions of dollars thrown at Jeff. I don't care how much airtime they give Jeff. Folks are just not with another Bush being in office. So they're queuing up Rubio. And Marco Rubio is extremely sharp, extremely quick on his feet, as I'm sure you know. But I think the albatross around his neck is the Gang of Eight. And that Gang of Eight thing is not going to go away. But I guess they keep putting him up there, keep putting him up front. They can continue to drive. And, Marco, if he had not acquiesced on his promise, which got him elected in Florida, of no amnesty, and then roll over on that.
Yep.
I mean, he would be the candidate to beat.
He would be.
He did. And he has to own that, and we can try to soft pedal it now, but he owns that. I went to an engagement on the Hill he spoke about 2 years. They had a lot of old guard Republicans, not establishment Republicans, old guard Republicans that had our worldview. And he spoke, and he was a very eloquent speaker. I was very impressed. But I tell you, the cold shoulder he got from those old guard Republicans who looked at him side-eye and were cordial to him and gave him a light applause as he left it. But I had to put on a jacket. It was so cold.
I'll just say it this way.
That's the reality.
Rubio is dead to me. Dead to me, Rubio.
You were kidding.
It's a Jersey thing. Speaking of Jersey, just one other question for you. Is it time for Krispy Kreme to give up his campaign for the presidency? Go back home.
I think it's time that he and Kasich need to call it quits. Rand Paul needs to seriously consider, although I hold Rand in higher regard than I do Mr. Christie. But it's time to hang it up. Whenever I see him, I cannot get the image out of my head of the romance picture between him and President Obama and making the president. I try to say, well, maybe that was a weak moment. He was excited because they were getting funding from the feds. I don't know what it was, but that I will never
Never. Just like Rubio and amnesty, Krispy Kreme hugging the president. It's over. Tell everybody, Lonnie, how they can listen to your program, your fabulous program, Monday through Friday.
Well, brother, thanks so much for letting me come on your show. As always, your listeners can tune in 11 a.m. Eastern to sign up, and I'll be broadcasting from the NRB conference, the National Religious Broadcasters Conference, there in Nashville at the end of February. So we're excited about that as well.
Wow! Congratulations to you, sir. The religious site don't invite me to many places. So, want to make this announcement while we've been on the air talking with Lonnie Poindexter. Cruz has been declared the winner of the Iowa caucuses. It's over. 28%. Congratulations. It may be a little bit more, maybe a little less, but he's the grand prize winner. Trump looks like he will end the night in second place, and Rubio in third. Carson a distant fourth, and Paul is in another universe. So at this point, and it looks like it's going to be a tie. They're not going to decide tonight. There may be a tie between Clinton and Sanders in Iowa. I want to tell you that, remember, there was a certain gentleman who called into your program, and I'm sorry to keep you, but I just need to tell you this. Actually, two things. One, someone sent me a note via Facebook that KMOR or KMRZ or something radio in St. Louis, they're trying to push to put your program on the air there in St. Louis. So congratulations to you on that. Yeah, you're big time, man. You're big time. I'm just grateful to be in your presence.
I'll get that check right out.
But the other thing, remember a gentleman named Stanley Levy, our good friend. Stanley Levy called into your program and had great disdain for me. He connected with me at 3 o'clock in the morning that Saturday morning. 3 o'clock, he was so pissed. And I explained to him where my feelings were. That we both agree that a revolution is going to take place in this country. We both agree that. But until such time, I believe that you should do as much as you can through elections as you possibly can to reverse the course. And just to explain, listen, Donald Trump is not everything that people expected him to be and want him to be. You know, and you know it. He got into a religious debate with me as well on scriptures. He was using eisegete, I used exegete, and it blew his mind. But
I would love to have been a fly on the wall. Remember, Stanley feels strongly about that position, and I've crossed swords for on it. But I love the discourse because I learned something, and hopefully he learned something from me as well. But, you know, he brings his A game with his argument. It always makes for delightful show. In fact, maybe that's what we should do going forward. I'll reserve one day a week where I can have the three of us together, and we can get into it. I think the listeners would love it.
But it was great talking with Stanley Levy, and anyone who's listening, you should pick up Stanley Levy's radio show. He is a great radio personality, great conservative. We just have a different point of view regarding elections and revolutions, and so it was wonderful talking with him, and I look forward to picking up the debate with him someday. God bless you, sir. It was great having you on the air with us tonight. Lonnie Poindexter, good friend of ours, and listen, if you haven't, you should most certainly go to Lion Chaser radio show. I know Mary will put it in there because she loves herself some Lonnie. Check mark over his head. So there we go. And I want you all to know before we go to commercial that there are those who do not want the outcome to be the way that it was. Okay, they don't. They did not want it to be this way. But let it be said, I don't think there will ever be a primary sweep, okay, because we're in primary, but there will be a president who is conservative, and I really believe that that conservative will be Ted Cruz, senator senator from Texas, the United Republic of Texas, and certainly I really think with all of my heart if he's not president, he should be the replacement for Chief Justice. Just saying.
Right's right. Gonna be a right's right. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. You stole mine. Right's right.
Right swipe. It does for my sister. It does. Oh, no, she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
Let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left. Yeah. You gotta swipe it left. Let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta let's swipe that. Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You buff, but you puff, hashtag flexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, now the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo with a green-eyed hottie, hairline, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
Six months take some time to check. If you think you're not tight, and I'm not tight. Hope you're going to tell the I just left right, let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left. Yeah. You gotta swipe it left. You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta let's swipe that.
With the world traveling, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop, looking all offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking you from tens to twos. And one thing's true about your whole crew, man, a new cigaretta's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger.
Let's swipe that.
While you're on a high glider.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking old stealthy.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Let's swipe that.
I don't trust your truck race.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Let's swipe that.
Giving it a photo bomb.
He don't care.
Let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left. Yeah. You gotta swipe it left. Let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left. Yeah.
Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
I'm a good person. I never bothered anybody. But I can't afford a nice house in a safe neighborhood. I live in a government high-rise. Gangbangers and drug dealers walk down our halls every day. My neighbors and I were scared. We called the police. But they can't keep us safe. Some of us are too afraid to even leave our apartments. But the housing authority told me if I bought a gun to protect myself, they throw me to the streets. If I'm not free because of my address today, what makes you think you'll be free tomorrow? I marched behind Martin Luther King at Selma. I know my rights. Now I have my gun. I am the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Welcome back! Get it up! Stretch a little bit. Yeah! Yep, it's commercial free from this point on, people. Yeah! Yeah! Oh boy! Yeah! Get that out. Yeah, okay. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently Ted Cruz has taken the Iowa caucus, and I put a prediction in the chat roll, and I want to thank everyone who's still in that chat roll. You people are you're just beautiful. You're just beautiful people. I say that Trump takes New Hampshire, Cruz takes South Carolina and runs the SEC. Trump and Rubio pick up some of the western states. No. I'm just saying. There were no other. And I'm just saying, I'm looking long term here. The idea of a brokered primary in Cleveland. No, actually, tonight is the worst case scenario. Tonight is the worst case scenario for Donald Trump. It is also the worst case scenario for Marco Rubio. Although he surged and he's third place, nobody thought. It is also the worst case scenario for Carson. I thought Carson would have been better running for the U.S. Senate in Maryland, getting his chops there. I don't see. This was it for Carson, in my opinion. In terms of the big state, he's the first to pick up a primary. He picked up the District of Columbia, but that's only 3 seats, babe. 3 votes. I don't see anything else happening with Carson. I think we have our final 3, and actually I think we have our final 2. This is a race, and isn't this wonderful? The Republican Party, the old white man's party. Now the battle is down to the establishment candidate Rubio versus the true conservative Ted Cruz. I think Donald Trump is out of it. I'll be as bold and arrogant as anyone and tell you that. Mary says I never get to vote for my. There's still time in Ohio. You can vote for Kasich. There's still time. Still time to vote for Kasich. But I really think, without a shadow of a doubt, Trump needed to pick up Iowa to legitimate his presidential run. Now, other people will say, well, Ken, that's a little, there are other states out there. He's been working. But as I was saying on Lonnie's show last Friday, and Stanley Levy got so annoyed with me for making my comment saying I was brainwashed. But I'm not brainwashed. I'm telling you, everything up to the actual voting is showtime. It really is. It's reality TV. Okay, everything up to that is reality. When people finally start voting, then we can have a conversation. We can have a talk. People are making up their minds. And it looks like if Donald Trump wasn't in this race, I doubt very seriously if Rubio would have picked up as much, or maybe he would have, but Cruz would have far and away taken Iowa. I think he's not going to run the states, but he certainly will have the nomination, which is the worst thing possible for the establishment in Washington, D.C., which is the best thing for you. And this is why I'm going to tell you right now. We say, I won't vote. Yes, you have to vote, Mary. You have to. Don't get angry because Carson didn't win. I'm going to be very frank with you. Carson has some of his own problems. He had a great ground game in Iowa, but he didn't manage the media as well as he could have. He didn't manage his staff as well as he could have either. And so things began to fall apart. And when things fall apart, it shows up in performance. He knows that. You have to be completely prepared. Good. Go ahead, Mary. Write it in. But vote for the most conservative person in your district all the way. You have to vote. And this is what I want to tell people. A lot of people want to say, well, Donald Trump's not going to win, especially after the comments he made. And I played some of those for you. So I'm not going to vote. Don't do that. Don't do that. You are the last stand against the socialists. You saw, and I'm looking right at it right now, the early results. And literally, Sanders and Clinton are in a dead heat. There is no difference between Sanders and Clinton. They're both socialists. Hillary Clinton wrote a letter to Saul Alinsky back in 1971 asking for when the book was going to come out. And you all know the book, right? And wanting to make certain that her generation would side with Saul Alinsky. Well, Mrs. Clinton is about to watch, okay, because the big news story tonight is not that she won, but how much Sanders lost by. Okay? Not that she won, because they're reporting it at 51%. It is not 51%. It is actually 50% to Sanders 49. It wasn't a 2-point victory. And they haven't even called it yet. She's up by 1%. Okay, and they still have 13% of the polling or the caucuses to report. So not hit by the snowstorm. There was no stoppage of voting. Apparently, it was a very high turnout. And this is a report there that some sites were so packed that officials had trouble closing the doors. So a lot of people were out tonight, and a lot of people believe that this is the most important election in the history of America. Even bigger than the Reconstruction elections. This is huge because the direction of the country will take place one way or the other. And to be earnest with you, regarding the political policies that will come, you're talking about we're very close to an Article 5 convention. You had Rubio talking about an Article 5 convention. You need your focus now in all these other states is that you're voting for the most conservative person. Listen, it was a groundswell of individuals who came out tonight for this. High voter turnout. So you want to make certain that your most conservative candidate is getting those votes for Congress, in the House and the Senate, for mayor, for city council, for dog catcher, for butt scratcher, whatever it is. You want to make sure your candidate is getting the most. You should start knocking on the doors and making certain that primary votes are being taken right now. And you're preparing for that. So there you go. And we're calling it tonight for Ted Cruz. He beat Donald Trump, who had billions of dollars, had his own helicopter. Cruz, steadfast, and probably won big in Sioux City, Iowa as well. Rubio is the big surprise tonight. He is in third place. The second big surprise is Carson, who had the better ground game than Rubio, had been there longer than Rubio, only garnered 9%, and probably will only remain in the race if he gets to 10%. Everyone else is just absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a look. 9% for Carson, 5% for Paul, 3% for Bush. This is the exit denouement. This is that moment that you need to exit stage left, Mr. Bush. Governor Bush, I think you should hold a press conference tomorrow morning and say, if I don't win New Hampshire, I'm done. Fiorina, 2%, behind Kasich 2%. Huckabee, 2%. And Huckabee won Iowa. So what a change and fortune. Christie, 2% behind Huckabee. Santorum, 1% behind Christie. So that tells you something. Santorum, who did not have the same national exposure, did not have the same wanton schoolgirl screams from individuals who wanted him Chris Christie to be the victorious one. I can't think of the female commentator who just loved herself some Chris Christie, wanted Chris Christie to win. She long blonde haired woman, whatever. But the bottom line is, Chris Christie is in the 2 percentile, Santorum at 1%. So that tells you Christie spent a whole lot more money than Santorum. Santorum got 1%. Also, Gilmore, who was on our program a couple of Fridays ago, the Conservative Commandos radio program with the benevolent dictator, Rick Trader. There it is. Okay, so Gilmore down at 0%, and there are some write-ins. I think Vermin got a couple of write-in votes. So there you go. This just in, I want to let you all know, this just in, it is now a tie between Sanders and Clinton. It is now a tie between Sanders and Clinton. All indications are, based on voting in Iowa City and other areas, that Bernie Sanders is going to win Iowa. And what you have now is, if Bernie wins New Hampshire, Hillary should say, I am resigning so that I can focus on the investigations that are against me in Washington. And I will suspend my campaign. And Rick wanted me to run. Yeah, you should have run. You should have run, Mary. So there you go. And I say all that, and I'm running out of time, but I want to go over, and I will talk about the differences, part one here, between a democracy and a republic. And they are essential to understanding where those two candidates are. Well, let's just take a real look tonight. Tonight, America chose the greatest extremes. The Civil War has begun in America. You have one side that has chosen Ted Cruz, and chosen Ted Cruz by a wide margin. And then you have another side of America that's choosing Bernie Sanders by a very narrow vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you, the Civil War has begun tonight. The shot heard around the world is that free market capitalism, conservatism, Christianity, and constitutionalism will be on the board versus those who wish to repeal each and every one of those. This is what a democracy is. A democracy is ruled by the omnipotent majority. In a democracy, an individual and any group of individuals comprising any minority have no protection against the undaunted power of the majority. It is a case of majority over man. A republic is a representative democracy with a written constitution of basic rights that protect the minority from being completely unrepresented or overwritten by the majority. The republic offers the equality that democracy never will. Those who wish to rule choose democracy. Those who wish to govern choose a republic. Constraints on the government. And we have a government of and by the consented. For a democracy, there is no constraint on the government. The majority can impose its will on the minority. We've been watching that over the past 150 years. And then we have races where Republicans will get in office because they want to be the majority ruler. That's not it. That's not governance, that's rule. For a republic, yes, there are constraints upon federal government and state government and local government and town government and even family. The majority cannot take away certain unalienable rights. We must observe the rights of others. Now, there is no constitutional right for gay marriage. I don't care how you quibble in the Supreme Court. When did it become the role of 5 people to decide the fate of the Constitution? When you have 350 million people who have the consent to govern given to those individuals. Philosophy is the final thing I will focus on. All eligible citizens get equal say in decisions for democracy. For a republic, all eligible citizens get equal say in decisions with protection of inalienable rights to individuals. We can talk about it all day long. But God is showing us tonight, and I'll say it, Bernie Sanders offers the extreme of democracy. Ted Cruz offers the extreme of the republic. Which one will you choose? Tomorrow night we'll continue our conversation about democracy and the republic, and we'll continue our look at Hillary Clinton as the prophetess of socialism and Bernie Sanders as the pharaoh of communism. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a wild, wild week. Tomorrow night, the beautiful, the brilliant Janice Hall of the J. Hall World Report will be with us. Signing off from Washington, D.C., a friend of mine once told me, live bravely, never die a coward. I promise you, I always will. I want you to remember, without a shadow of a doubt, God blessed America. It is now time for America to bless God.